Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Yes, you know the drill, another Reddit story, but today it's not just any Reddit story. No. Today is the start of a new JUSTNOMIL saga. Yep, you guys have been waiting for it, Hellmark 2.0. Actually, this mill might possibly even be more mentally unhinged than Hellmark, if you can believe it. So buckle up and welcome to part 1 of the mill they call cruise control. Also, yes, I am still sick. Sorry for my voice, but I couldn't wait to start this for you guys. Help! My husband wants to let his mom move in. One of my IRL friends told me about this sub, so I started reading posts a while ago. I haven't posted until now because I was just using this sub to live vicariously through people who succeeded in getting their mill out of their lives. Now I actually need advice, so here I am. First, some background on Mill and why she already annoys me. My husband and I have been together for 5 years, married for 1. His parents are divorced, and he is an only child. Mill never lets him forget that he's all she has. Phil remarried to a nice lady who has 2 adult daughters that we get along with. I actually met my husband through one of them. Mill wants to make plans with us constantly. She tries to keep a full social calendar and gets butthurt if we have previous plans or just want to have a quiet night in. When we were younger, she would pay for us all to do something we couldn't afford to do as students and take us out to lunch afterwards. It seemed like she was a nice and generous mom. I regret this now. My husband is good about telling her no, but we pay for it the next time we see her. She mopes and asks us how our quiet night in was in a sad voice. She also gets upset if we hang out with my husband's father or stepsisters. We didn't know better when we were younger and both did the whole "it's easier to lie" thing. Now we've set a precedent of being way too careful around her feelings and letting her butt into our plans. She is over at our house about 4 times a week. Usually she stops by to drop something off, and it's always a bullshit reason. She's really lonely, and she needs real friends. Her lease will end soon at her apartment, and she plans to live on various cruise ships all summer before she signs a new lease. The plan seems sketchy to me. Every time she explains it, she has a weird reason as to why she can't go on a cruise right away or stay in an Airbnb. She's taking the first cruise in May, and she'll come back in September to start a new job. The lease ends in 2 weeks, and she's just bothered to ask if she can stay with us a week ago. She's acting like this is an emergency situation, and she might become homeless and die out in the cold. I might be paranoid, but I'm afraid that she'll move in, and the cruise plans will magically fall apart. We'd have to evict her, and she would drag out the process. I don't know what to do. My husband says it's just until May, but I don't trust her. I have a bad feeling about this. Every time we ask her about the cruise stuff, she acts shifty and tries to change the subject. My husband doesn't see it, but I do. If I were her, I'd leave for the cruises now, when they're probably less crowded, still do 4 months, come back in August instead of September, to be able to get stuff in order for her new apartment and new job. Am I crazy? That just makes more sense, right? The plan she has now will give her 3 days to get her things together before her new job starts. Maybe I'm missing crucial details. I don't know. Update 2. Help! My husband wants to let Mill move in with us. The cruise story was fishy, so I started to poke her story with a stick. First, I came up with a brilliant idea when she came over this afternoon. She came by to drop off a casserole dish that she thought was ours. She didn't really, it was an excuse. And like usual, she came to drop something off, but immediately sat down in my living room. I pulled out my laptop and asked her to tell us which cruise she is going on so that my husband and I can think of joining her for a week. Normal Mill would be excited and jump at the opportunity, but she acted awkward and said that she didn't know which cruise she'll be on yet. I acted surprised and said that she probably won't be able to go now because it's too late to make such a complicated and specific booking. She said that it's no trouble and I shouldn't worry about it. She is certainly hiding something. My other thought is that it might be something she's embarrassed by. Maybe she'll be taking a singles cruise and doesn't want us to know. I told my husband that she can't move in or I will go bonkers. He said that he doesn't want to deal with her crying and whining when we tell her. So I volunteered to do it because I don't trust him to give her a firm no. And I also said, what would be worse? Hearing her cry now or having her cry later when we have to make her leave? If we have to make her go, we won't be able to escape the crying. She'll be in our house. If you say no now, at least you can hang up the phone. This is the argument that won him over. I can't believe my husband, a grown man, is so afraid of having to hear someone cry and whine. Easter dinner was a disaster. I told Mill she can't live with us. I hate holidays with Mill. She gets so upset if there are any other people there because she needs undivided attention from my husband and I. We gave her Easter because it's a holiday I don't give a fuck about. I made a comically tiny roast for the three of us, and it was just as awkward as you would imagine. Most of it was fine. Not great, but fine. Once dessert started, it became un fracasso grande. Mel said, "This evening has been so nice with the three of us. Just think, we could be doing this every night soon." She winked when she said this, which nearly triggered my gag reflex. My husband and I had mutually agreed to wait until after the holiday to say anything to Mill, and we were dumb and didn't have a plan for what to do if she brought it up first. I looked sideways at him to see if we could silently agree on something. All he could communicate to me with his facial expression was, "I'm panicking, mayday, mayday." So I just decided I may as well go for it. Actually, Mill, since you brought it up, we have discussed it together a lot, and we decided that we can't host you. We will help you find a new place to stay and help you with moving, but that's all the help we can offer. She looked like I slapped her and asked me why with tears in her eyes. I said that we had a bad experience with my family staying for only 2 weeks, and that 6 or more weeks was not a burden on my marriage that I was willing to undertake. I love and value my husband too much. She started crying in earnest, mascara running down her face, the whole 9 yards. She was so sad we didn't care about her awful situation, and in between sobs, acted very upset and blindsided that I could ever think that she would be a burden on my marriage. Notice that she directed it all at me, not my husband. He was being silent as a mouse. Damn him. I couldn't help but feel angry at this. She was the entire reason that we eloped instead of having an actual wedding. And she crashed our honeymoon. She has been a burden from the beginning. I shouldn't have said it, but I said, "To be honest, Mill, you're already a burden on my marriage." At this moment, she started scream crying. There's no other way to describe it. She was clutching her abdomen and just screaming directly onto the table, followed by 3 heaving sobs, another long scream, and 3 or 4 more heavy sobs. It's like she was trying to make as much noise as she possibly could. It backfired. Instead of making us guilty, we looked at her like she was a crazy person. This is progress coming from my husband. I said, "Mill, you seem to be determined to shut this conversation down by crying as usual. It's hard to take your tears seriously when you use them to manipulate us so often." She snapped out of it immediately. It was so fast, I got whiplash. She looked at me and said, "I'll go cry at home then, where at least I won't have anyone telling me that I'm a bad person for being upset." And she left. That was it. All my husband and I could talk about when she left was her immediate 180, sobbing like someone had died, to immediately quieting down when I said that her tears weren't working. It was creepy. So creepy. She sent a text an hour later to my husband. It was basically asking him if he agreed with me, said in a way that implied that he couldn't possibly agree agree? And if not, what the hell was he going to do about it? Like, she could snap her fingers and make him override his wife for her. He and I talked about it, and he ended up writing this response to her and sending it after I agreed it was a good one. The decision was mutual, but we can still help you find a place and move your things. She texted back, "Don't bother." The next morning, I got this text from her. "I've had some time to think about the things you said last night, and you're right. The 10 minutes I see you every week must be a terrible burden. Poor you. You won't have to put up with it anymore. I won't miss having to choke down your disgusting food. Do us all a favor and stop making that lemon cheesecake. Everyone hates it." We had the lemon cheesecake for Easter dinner the night before. It's my husband's favorite, and he always opts for it instead of birthday cake, which she is salty about because she used to bake his cake for him every year. People request it from me all the time. She's full of shite. Not that I need to defend myself to you all, but I'm a good cook. She is just a picky eater. She hates most spices, onions, all peppers, most beans, any meat with fat that she can see, tomatoes unless they're pureed, meat with bones, all seafood, mushrooms, any potatoes other than red potatoes, and most vegetables. It's hard to serve her food, and I do my best. But seriously? This woman hates garlic bread. Who hates garlic bread? That's the last we've heard from her. My husband and I are going to see a couples counselor because I insisted. Overall, he has started to see my side, especially after that little show she put on for us on Sunday. He knows she's a total fucknut, but he still thinks he has obligations to her. I'm trying to show him that he doesn't, but it's a process. Update on Mill, who claims she will live on a cruise ship for 4 months. I really need a name for her that isn't Mill, who claims she will live on a cruise ship for 4 months. I like Choco Ono because she screams like Yoko and claims she has to choke down my food, and also is highly disruptive to any group dynamic. I also love some of the ones people came up with that reference her hatred of garlic bread. Lots of funny vampire names were suggested. Anyway, she went 9 whole days without texting us. Can you believe it? She finally texted my husband the following: "This is ridiculous. I think I raised you better than this." She does this a lot. She sends a cryptic text that shows she's upset and doesn't say why. She wants people to ask her questions so that she can unload all of her feelings onto them. She won't do it unless you put up some pretense by asking her the questions she's fishing for. I find this so exhausting, and I'm trying to get my husband to recognize this pattern. He doesn't see it because he isn't fluent in passive aggressive. Somehow, despite being raised by her. But he didn't take the bait. We discussed it and agreed that her text wasn't an effort to reach out like an adult. It came across as pissy and rude, and I'm sure that she's angling for an apology. Not going to happen. You could call her cruise control, since she's trying to control your life and possibly move into your home permanently under the guise of an imaginary cruise. Just so you all know, yes, the official name of Mill did end up being cruise control. But great googly moogly. I think this saga is going to have a lot of great googly mooglies in it, because from what I have quickly grazed over so far, it is a doozy. These first 4 that we read today are tame in comparison to what's coming. Like I said though, I've only quickly grazed the next parts coming up, and I'm not going to read them in depth on my own because I want to keep my opinions unbiased, and I also want to have genuine reactions alongside you guys. But what I will say is that I don't think this saga ends well, unfortunately. We will see though, and I'm so excited to take you guys on another JUSTNOMIL journey. Get your tablecloth-sized lace handkerchiefs ready. Also, thank you so much to subscriber Brad, who pointed me in the direction of this saga. He also shared a picture of his cat. This is his adorable cat named Shadow. Aww. Anyway, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of the cruise control saga. I'll try not to leave you guys hanging too long in between these parts, but again, I am still sick, but I'll try to keep up with it as best as I can for you guys. See you in part 2!